Hello everybody, and welcome in to this presentation of the Elite Series as part of the PRA Stock Series here on the PRA Network. I will be your host for tonight, 81, and joining me into the booth is a very special guest. Welcome in, John. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing alright tonight. I'm ready to see some great PRA Stock Series racing from the Elite Series here at Daytona.
Me too. As noted, we are at the Daytona International Speedway for our third and final race of the week, starting off with the stock series, or the Sportsman Series, then the Challenger Series, then the Elite Series as part of the stock series. So with this stock series, it's a brand new series we're running, kind of NASCAR inspired. We have 3 different manufacturers, Ford, Chevy, and Toyota, featuring 8 different teams on the grid. A lot of those team owners here on the track in the Elite Series, as the Elite has the best, some of the best drivers. Not to say the Challenger or Sportsman Series don't have amazing drivers in their own right, because they definitely do. All of these guys can compete. But how are you feeling for this race tonight? Who are you looking at? What are we looking at here?
This race definitely like any Daytona race, I expect elbows to be out, bumping, grinding everywhere on the track. Those corners to be very important for passing. That bottom line dominant throughout the race.
That's right, as we will give us a brief look at the first part of the starting order, and rest of the drivers will be introduced throughout the race. Starting on pole is Hoodcat, driving the number 21 Ford for Team Aftershock. In second place is King Saturn, starting on the first row alongside him, owner of Rings of Saturn, also running Fords in the 97. Third place is JSM Turismo and the number 3 Camaro, running for NTG Elite Racing, with his teammate right behind him, Luke Mann, and the number 16. In fourth place, we have M. Schwartz in a Chevy as well. He's going to be driving for D-Boy Racing, as the rest of the pack, including these guys, round the front of the tri-oval, as we are going green, green, green here at Daytona International Speedway to start off our 80-lap marathon here for the first week of the Elite Series.
See here on this first restart, the outside lane holding it together somewhat, trying to give any position they can to hold off so that they can get on that bottom lane and get that position.
A little bit loose from King Saturn, but a little bit of contact. They keep it together on the back straight, as KTB Killer keeps it together as well, trying to slot back in the line. That bottom line is key here at this track for the most part, as you know, the power of that bottom line is really advantageous compared to the outside line.
Yeah. Once you get moved to that outside, you're basically shuffled all the way back to that lead pack if you're not unlucky enough to lose that draft and lose the pack entirely.
As we're on board here with Vinny Vinegar and Retha Franklin, may get 3 wide around the 80 car of myself, 81. And to lap 3. Laps 1 and 2. Beautiful view of Daytona Beach, Florida by the airport. Seeing the planes coming in is always a treat. As Lost, I am Lost, and Luke Mann side by side here. Luke Mann trying to stick around with his teammate Turismo in front, but Lost is going to make that a hard challenge to do, as Luke may fall back just a little bit, gets a little loose with the help of KTB Killer, with Retha Franklin in behind as well, trying to make it around the outside of all of them. Not going to make it work with the contact there.
3 wide there briefly as Retha tries to find a hole to get down into that bottom line, but it seems like everyone keeps jostling around. Retha ends up into the wall there and falling back to the end of the pack.
Unfortunate break for Retha, losing the toe. Going to have to find a way later on to get back to the pack. But for now, Sarapsu going on the inside with that inside line, traying along, as staying in that train, in the tow, very advantageous for fuel, I'd say, except for the leader. Right now the leader is Cart. Leading this pack isn't the greatest place to be, because yes, you may be pushed along, But you're the one pulling these guys. You're the one draining the most fuel as Hoodcat and the rest of the pack give him a nice bump to catch up.
Seemingly now have two people moving to the outside. Lost and Luke Man. Maybe trying to form an outside lane there once again. Doesn't look like anyone else is going to move out to the outside with them though.
You can see the bumpy nature of these banked corners here at Daytona. It's very hard to keep these cars straight, especially when you're making contact. But they make it work as KTB Killer gets up to 3rd place with Luke Man and Turismo up in behind, Vinny Vinegar behind them.
Luke Man onto the outside around Killer.
Indeed.
Will anyone go? Teammate there pushing with him, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to make the pass as he is lost to the outside there.
On board with Vinny as he's trying to make a move on KTB. Luke Man and Turismo still on the outside, joining them as Diff. Let's see if they make it done or get it done around the outside. Doesn't look like they're going to do it though. There's just not enough momentum on that outside line.
Axu pushes it to the middle, makes it 3 wide there for a moment.
I am lost in Turismo in the back. Turismo really getting shuffled back in the back now, losing his teammate and having to slot all the way to the back of this train of cars. On board with the Canadian, I am lost in 9th place. Just trying to keep in the train steady. It's hard to keep these cars too steady in the draft as we get Siraxu and Hoodcat looking around the outside to see if they can make a move of their own right. So far, moving up to the outside line hasn't been working too well for people, though.
No, definitely 3 cars, maybe 4 cars might have a chance, but you really need to get a line formed on that upper lane to get something done.
Well, even with the 4 cars going around turns 1 and 2, they couldn't get it done, as especially through the turns, it's just very hard to make any sort of moves, especially keeping the car steady.
With all the banking and the speed you're loading up into those corners, it's definitely hard to keep those cars straight and pushing behind the car in front of you in the corners. Definitely a dangerous place to push and be pushed. Or as you can see, King Saturn himself is the car heading off into turn 1 at the moment.
Indeed, as this lead pack may be making more ground on him at some point, and he will probably be the first car to go a lap down. As we have a car going around, it's Vinny Vinegars in turns 1 and 2.
Tough break there for Vinny as he loses the pack completely because of that spin.
Cat gets pushed around. That will be the first tally.
Crossing the line now onto lap 16. Killer in the lead, pushed by Luke Man, with that pack of cars now catching up to those 2 cars that have slightly pulled away.
Being impressive from KTB and Luke Man to get a bit of pull from the rest of the group, but Hoodcat's going to catch them very quickly, as well as 81, JSM Turismo, and the rest of this pack. As here you see the accordion effect I was talking about. Now that everyone gets caught up together, everyone colliding into each other just makes it very tough to keep the cars together and stable on the track, but everyone does a great job of keeping their cars not sideways.
As we come once again back around to the line for lap 17. As this lead pack is getting ever closer there to King Saturn.
Now, as they're not quite catching the pack just yet, or excuse me, the pack's not quite catching King Saturn yet. Seems Saturn's been pretty fast on his own. Now, this may be likely because a lot of these guys in the pack are going to be saving fuel, so they're going to be on lower fuel loads. Whereas King Saturn up front probably burning a little bit more fuel than necessary at the moment. But when these guys catch King Saturn, KTB Killer might be thinking to use King Saturn as a way to save fuel himself, since King Saturn, last thing he wants is to go a lap down, as we do not have Lucky Dog in this series, meaning that if King Saturn goes a lap down, he will not be able to get his lap back on caution restarts. Speaking of caution restarts, another thing with this series that we're experimenting with this year is that pit stops will only be available under green flag conditions. So pit road will not be open under caution, making it so everyone has to be a little bit more strategic on to when they will pit and have to have a plan for green flag condition pit stops.
As now it looks like King Saturn has moved to the bottom line, potentially trying to give the slip to the leader there in Killer.
Indeed, so King Saturn kind of doing what we thought he would do, dropping down to that bottom line, working with the leader. It's a very transactional approach. The leader gets to save fuel, and King Saturn gets to stay on the lead lap.
Now, obviously, if you're behind that leader trying to push him and have him burn fuel, this is one of the last things you want to see is King Saturn moving down and helping that leader. You're trying to push beyond their limits.
Right, that's right, and with this fuel situation, we're hitting lap 21 now. I'd say the pit window is going to open around the lap 30 period. So it'd be interesting to see how that opens up when we get to that point with different pit strategies in play. All these drivers are looking to see what strategy will get them the furthest. Most guys will likely be looking at a two-stop on this track, as that is likely the most efficient way given plans and testing coming into the race, as this pack will now finally catch the toe of King Saturn and looking to be using him for their advantage. On board now with Captain Napkins, the franchise owner of Captain Racing. Sitting back here in 7th place behind Schwartz in front of Kart Racing.
Now King Saturn comfortably sitting at the front of this pack, being pushed by the leader.
Indeed, and this is a very big break for KTB. He's loving to see this. King Saturn is working with him. He gets to save a little bit more fuel, though he's still going to be at disadvantage, as he's going to have a lot less fuel than the guys behind him still. As we round to lap 24, we have the sights of another lap car, Aretha Franklin. We're going to see what he does when the pack catches him.
As we cross the line, it will be 25 laps completed out of our 80 here today. As KTB Killer still leads with King Saturn, the last car on the lead lap ahead of him, leading this pack.
Again, on these oval races, you can have unlikely friends working together, not part of the same teams or in the same manufacturer groups, but really it's advantageous for everyone to work together on the ovals, at least until the last few laps.
Absolutely. If you ask anybody out there who you would want on your rear bumper, someone from your manufacturer or someone who actually knew how to push at Daytona, everyone out there would take somebody who knew how to push over somebody who didn't have their own manufacturer. As we see Captain get sent off into the wall there.
John may just have commentator's curse, but Captain does get knocked out of the line, and he's going to have to hope to keep with the tow. Now, I will say I'm pretty sure most of these guys up here will be running fuel mode 6, or at least a low fuel mode. So Captain may just have to use some extra fuel real quick to catch those guys to make sure he doesn't lose the tow. But I don't think he's too far out of it to where he can't. Yeah, as you see, he's going to be catching this pack pretty quickly, probably dialing up to fuel gauge 1 for a minute, as he's now back behind Retha and the rest of the pack. Giving Retha a little bump to help them both get the main pack. As we check in really quick on this other group, it is Vinny, Diff, Lost, and Saraxu working together in this 4-pack, as we discussed earlier, would be most advantageous for them to do.
It does seem over the last couple laps they have slowly been catching up on the lead pack, but as that lead pack just keeps running away from them, we'll see if they have any more ground to be able to recover here.
As we'll check back in on the main pack with Saturn, Lukeman, and the rest. A little bit of 3-wide action in the back. Let's see if we can... As Retha tries to make a move. As we head back to the front straight of the tri-oval. King Saturn still leading with Lukeman behind, KTB Killer, and Hoodcat, 81, Turismo, Cart, Captain Napkins, Schwartz, and Aretha Franklin. As Captain gets knocked loose a little bit again, but staying calm as we head out of turns 1 and 2 onto the back stretch.
One of those things you do have to be careful here at Daytona is your speed difference can get up to the point where giving the shove to someone in front of you could actually be detrimental to their race, as it could send them around.
Indeed, as we're hitting around lap 30 now, so here's around the time where as some of these guys would consider pitting if you're running a 2-stop and not fuel saving, as a little bit of bumping and shoving with these guys now, knowing that track position may be key when it comes to pit road.
3 wide there, back in the end, back of the lead pack.
As we have 2 guys coming in now, it's Vinny Vinegar and Saraxu pitting in first.
Really low there on their fuel coming in, pushing it all the way to the limit on their gauges.
So they both were making about 30 laps after they fell back, had to use a bit more fuel than the rest of this main pack, as we do have some accordion effecting now, heavy accordion effect. As people get knocked loose, it's going to be Hoodcat knocked out by Schwartz a little bit further. He's got to sort it back in somewhere, but he's going to lose ground a lot as we have a spin from Schwartz.
Schwartz up and around there.
As though I do believe we are still green flag running though. I do take that back. We are going to be under caution. That will bring out the second tally, and we will be under yellow flags. There's going to be no pitting under yellow flags. However, very lucky break for Vinny Vinegars and Saraxu, as the flag came out while they're already in the pits. So they are good to go, and they're going to be fresh with this pack as we go to green and on new fuel. So they're going to be with the pack and will not have to pit until later on to the race.
Very lucky strategy there for those two, getting into the pits right before that caution came out.
As we have everyone doubling up now for this next restart. A little bit loose from Saturn and Vinny. But sitting in Vinny's spot, you're very comfortable, since all these cars in front of you have to pit. If you're Saraxu as well, all these cars in front of you have to pit. You do not have to pit for a while. As we're now doubled up, getting ready for this next restart here at Daytona, as we are green, green, green yet again here on lap 33 of 80 here in the PRA Elite Series.
These two lines a lot more feisty than our original start of the race, as we're getting in and they have to fight for that bottom line again going into turns 1 and 2.
Again, you have the guys on the outside line trying to find their way into the inside line, as that would be most advantageous. Some moves, very slick moves with some guys as well. As we're going to check out that number 30 car making their moves all the way up to the front. That is
able to
Retha
get their
Franklin.
lap back there.
That is right, Retha Franklin able to get back on the lead lap with some very slick moves through the pack, slicing through like a hot knife and butter. I think I got the analogy right this time.
Yes, absolutely beautiful restart there. Don't think I've seen one like that yet in GT here with PRA.
As now we have a few people trying to hit the pits. Cart misses the pits, actually. So, unfortunate for Cart. He's going to have to figure that out. But our pit road guys are Retha Franklin. Siraxu heading back in. Very interesting for Siraxu. He may have had a tough break in the pits. Have King Saturn hitting the pits. Very low on fuel, about to run out. We have Diff and KTB Killer hitting the pits as well. So that's going to be your group of guys working together with the first pit group.
My only thought with Siraxu pitting there is maybe pitting there and staying with that group of people who just pit might be advantageous when the rest of the field pits and you can cycle out ahead.
Very possible, though I guess he had to pit before because he really didn't have much fuel left to make it any further. I know that was the case for Saturn. We have Lost coming in on his own.
Bold strategy there, coming down pit road on your own. You are not going to have the draft when you come out. You are going to be a sitting duck on the racetrack.
As we have to make sure we have some safe re-entry from the guys off pit road. Doing it very well. Now we have teammates Luke Man and Turismo taking the lead together by Charge, by Storm. And those two getting a gap once again. Possibly stretching out a little bit more fuel, knowing, hey, we have more fuel to burn. Might as well burn it now, since we have to pit anyway. So, might as well see what we can do now. As Hoodcat's gonna make a few moves around the outside. Next pack of cars in is Turismo and Luke Man, Schwartz and Captain Napkins. That's why Turismo and Luke Man were pushing so hard, because they were about to come in anyway. So interesting look inside with Vinny Vinegars looking at the outside of the two lead cars, hugging that outside wall. Vinny Vinegars, see, he has the lead now, and he doesn't have to pit. He's already got his pit out of the way. So he's in a very advantageous position to potentially win this race, as the two cars in front of him do still have to pit, Hoodcat and 81. As everyone else is in pit road right now. That or far behind the pit road cars, as you have KTB Killer, Lost, Diff, King Saturn working together, those three. And you have Cart kind of stuck behind since he had a very rough pit time with pit road.
Definitely need to make that entry, but it's definitely difficult at the speeds these cars are going.
Hoodcat now dives in on his own since he really has to. He doesn't have much fuel left to save, and the top two cars are not pitting with him.
Vinny there tried to make a move to the inside to get that dominant lane away from the leader there.
As they try to make the move around Schwartz and Turismo. Actually just falling in line with those guys, since that's probably the most advantageous thing to do. I guess fourth wall break for a minute. I'll go ahead and discuss myself here in the lead, sitting in the lead, and we'll be in the lead for a while. So, again, quick fourth wall break. Here, I'm saving fuel, trying to go for a one-stop. We'll see if it works. Since at this point, most of the race, I was stuck in the pack, getting bumped behind and pulled in front, so really, I didn't have to use much fuel at all. Sit in fuel mode 6 and pretty much just coast, have people push me and pull me. So, I'm sitting here thinking, taking a whole pit stop away, I might be on my own for a little while, but will that be enough time? Will that save enough time to be in the lead pack by the end of the race? We will see.
right now, coming up on lap cars that are too wide here in turn 4, coming out onto the front stretch. Leaves Hoodcat to the outside there to get taken a lap down.
As now we'll kind of take inventory of the different groups that are on the track. So we have the lead / lap down group of Turismo Schwartz, 81 Hoodcat, and Vinny Vinegar. Vinny Vinegar, the only car in this pack who is on the lead lap and does not need to pit. And we'll check out this big pack of cars back here if we can find them. This pack is Captain Napkins, Luke Man, Diff, Lost, K2B Killer, King Saturn. This is the pack you have here. Probably the biggest pack, and probably the pack in the best position as King Saturn gives a nice little shunt into turn 3. People getting a little loose. Retha in the group as well, trying to figure out... Really, it's been a struggle of a race, so trying to figure out what to do at this point, pretty much. It's tough when you're kind of hung out to dry, as there are some aggressive moves with Retha getting through this pack. Just trying to make as much ground on his own as he can. Which I guess, if you're already a lap or 2 down, most you could do, really.
Yeah, all that's there when you're a lap or 2 down is the track position to help you get back if something else does happen on the track. Because here we do race back to the line, so potentially if the leader wrecks and you're able to pass the lead pack, you can get your lap back.
We'll check on kart racing and Siraxu as well, these two in 2 very different positions, but still working together on track as Kart is a lap down after the pit road challenges. But Siraxu sitting very pretty with his pit strategy. Even though coming in twice, he's still sitting in 3rd pretty comfortably. But I do still find it interesting why he didn't stick with Vinny Vinegar if they went in together. But we will see how that pans out at the end of the race yet again, once we have everyone come back together, or just run like this for the rest of the race. But we do still have one more pit stop for most guys to go. I think everyone on the track still has to pit at least once. On board with King Saturn, nice Ferrari 55 helmet he's got going on there. Is that the sign? It is the science helmet. Beautiful, beautiful helmet. As they have caught the main pack, and they're going to look to try to go all the way around the outside. And for once, an outside move is actually going to work for Captain and Luke Man.
So much momentum there, as you said, probably in a higher fuel pattern there. So this group that caught the lead pack is able to move around on the outside there.
And with the weird situation with the lead pack, myself, the leader, these guys are now getting back onto the lead lap, I should say, as the pit strategies made things really weird when it comes to lap down cars. And figuring that out in case cautions or pits come back into play, which I will point out. We get a little bit of fighting with this pack now yet again, but I believe this entire pack did get around the other pack that Turismo and Schwartz are tagging into the end. Hoodcat here as well. Diff just sitting into the back of this whole pack. And myself falling back a little bit, needing to catch the rest of the tow to save as much fuel as possible. Now we will hop on board with me for a little bit, as we are sitting at lap 46 of 80, over halfway through on the first stint. Going to have to pit soon. Fuel is running low, only a few laps left to go, if that.
Very impressive here as almost all of the cars on track get back in line with each other, with a few exceptions, rounding out small other packs around the field.
As we head around on board with myself to lap 47, at the tri-oval, across the line, and really only 1 lap to go. Can't really see the fuel gauge on the car from here, but it's reading 0. Probably gonna have to pit this time by. And that will really change things for the lead pack now, as there's a little bit of beating and banging in front as Lost gets bumped out to the back. Three wide in front.
Rifa's still making those aggressive moves to move up through the pack.
As I get bumped out to the outside of these guys, very precarious spot considering I'm not going to make it around another lap. So I have to let onto the brakes and hit pit road now finally, as Vinny Vinegars does take the lead. Yet again, I'll just say from my perspective, in that scenario, I was terrified, honestly. As these guys make the way around Saraxu. Yeah, I get bumped to the outside, just not expecting that, and it's like, okay, I have to work my way back down or I'm going to run out of fuel. As Cart
definitely do not want to run out of fuel shortly after the entry at Daytona.
Yeah. As Cart gets passed by the main pack, and it's Vinny Vinegar, the leader, actually looking behind most of these cars, in the middle to the back of the pack.
Not a bad place to be as the leader. With the 8th place car behind you and the 7th place car in front of you, not much worry you have for 2nd place coming around and taking your spot.
That's right, as we have this long train of cars down the back straight, making their way past into turns 3 and 4. As we'll check really quick the other guys on the track. KTB Killer on his own, myself on my own after the very risky pit strategy. Saraxu and Lost. Saraxu is catching the pack, but sitting in 10th, trying to catch Lost, and those two both trying to catch the main pack of cars. With mostly everyone together, yet again, position shuffled quite a bit. Well, not really, it's only Vinny Vinegar up a lap on all of these guys, and Aretha Franklin down a lap on all these guys.
About to go down another lap as it looks like Vinny trying to make that work on the outside, but it doesn't.
Bright sun beaming down Daytona Beach, Florida here, lap 50 of 80. These guys made it halfway through, but still 30 laps to go. Gotta keep it together. This isn't the end of the race just yet.
This race, 80 laps, not only a test of skill, but your endurance in GT7 here. Especially on a track like Daytona where you are constantly fighting not only your car but the other cars around you. So we see some contact there between Swartz and Cart.
Lost did seem to catch the pack, Saraxu has not. But Lost is back with this pack now, adding one more car to this long train of guys making their way around 3 and 4.
doing their best to hold that bottom lane here in the corners as we go back onto the back stretch, and we see them all get back into that single file line. Here at Daytona, that draft is so important that nobody wants to lose it until they absolutely have to make a move.
Quite a bit of side-by-side battling now as we have this main pack. The momentum pulling guys sideways and trying to make looks past other guys, but also still trying to keep this train together.
Definitely, this track may look wide, but that is deceiving you. At Daytona with this line here, you do not have a lot of room to maneuver as you lose that draft, and you essentially, it's another wall as Retha goes around there, trying to find his way back into that
Schwartz
pack.
gets caught up with it too. Yeah, as that might bring out a caution with two guys getting knocked out of the pack. That's what happens when you try to go 3 wide in the tri-oval. People get caught up trying to find their way back in. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes you get knocked out of that main draft and you try to fight your way back in, but there's not the space. The space closes and you get taken out and take someone else out with you.
Yeah, definitely. And Retha there have been fighting hard all race long since losing those laps early on. Probably just a last-ditch effort to try and make something happen on this race, try and get those laps back at some point.
Diff is looking to make a move around this lead pack, make his way up, as this may be the race to the line, and it is the race to the line, as Captain Napkins is going to start second, Saturn's going to start third on this restart, and we got the rest of this pack together. Turismo lost, and then Hoodcat running at the back. Quite a lucky break for a lot of these guys back here, as they're now going to have a chance yet again, caught up with the main pack. But it's going to be interesting to see on different pit strategies. Alright everyone, we are back here at Daytona International Speedway as we've made it to lap 58 now, under caution, as we've sorted out everyone, getting back onto the lead lap and getting everyone in their correct positions for this next restart here, going on to lap 60.
This is definitely where the race is going to start heating up. Everyone back in the same pack, 20 odd laps to go, give or take, and the win right there in everyone's graphs. I expect a lot of elbows to be out on this restart.
That's right, as now the pit strategies kind of come back together yet again as it comes into question what the best strategy would be. Vinny Vinegar's advantage has kind of dwindled a little bit after this caution now that everyone's back. Everyone still has one stop left to make. Mostly everyone, at least. As him and Captain are going to round the tri-oval to go green, 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 as Captain gets a great start off the line with the help of Loop Man, but the speed and power of the bottom line will take advantage to get Vinny Vinegar up, but Captain blocks it off as Captain's going to take the lead of this race with Vinny Vinegar working with him in second, Luke Man in third. Got a bit of a 3 wide behind as everyone making it around turns 1 and 2 to find their position in the line and where they want to be. The guys they want to work with, inside line or outside line. Hoodcat finds his way back in. He's going to make it 3 wide here. With Schwartz and Turismo.
Great launch on the outside on that restart. Definitely caused the pack to get all shuffled up as that outside line had advantage for a brief second. As we see Killer get into the wall as Saturn able to save it.
Yeah, Killer and King Saturn get into the wall themselves. That is not going to bring out a caution. This is on the first lap of a restart. One rule I forgot to bring up for PRA is it would take a massive wreck to bring out a caution on a race restart. And that wreck will not be enough to do it, I do not believe.
Cars being baked under that Florida sun as we dive into turns 3 and 4 here.
Diff actually taking the lead of the race with Captain in second, Lost in third. Hoodcat trying to keep on the lead lap himself. Kind of pulling the King Saturn strategy. Work with me and keep me on the lead lap. I'll let you save some fuel.
Definitely a great bargain for any leader to be able to have that control of the lead pack, so to say, and still be able to save fuel in that draft.
Teammates Loopman and Turismo yet again back together, working together in the middle of this pack as they are catching up on another lap car. Rita still in this main group of cars. Cart, 81, everyone else is still mostly in this pack. That is KTB Killer, who got wrecked out on the race restart, being passed by the lead pack.
Going a lap down within about a lap of the spin himself. Very unforgiving track here at Daytona.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that actually puts KTB 2 laps down. Rita 2 laps down as well. So it's Raxu and King Saturn working together. Hoodcat still leading this pack. Really, it's King Saturn and Siraxu hanging out to dry on their own, with the rest of this pack work together. Now, lap 62, we get to see yet again different pit strategies starting to come into play within the pit window coming up within the next 10 laps. As through testing, I found that if you're even without the draft, if you're in the heaviest fuel load 1 with the most power, you'll make it 23 laps on your own. So around this point, these guys may start to be doing the math. As we're with less than 20 to go, some guys might say, hey, we might as well pit now so we can just go fuel mode 1 the rest of the way. As we'll see who takes the gamble first into pit road. No one doing it yet still.
Schwartz almost given no option with that shove from behind, almost sending him down pit road.
Able to maintain control onto the track though with Schwartz.
Killer here fighting up alongside Turismo, trying to fight through this pack and get at least one of his laps back, or at least make a pass on Rita.
As now the line devolves a little bit up here as we got a 4 wide with Luke Man, Vinny, Rita, and Lost. Rita hits the wall, so KTB takes advantage as the lead pack does now drop in to the pits. So this first group of cars in will be Diff, Lost, Captain, Lukeman, Vinny Vinegar, JSM Turismo, Hoodcat, Schwartz. So that's about 8 cars into the pits that first time around.
could be a very powerful pack coming out of the pits together.
As now the rest of these guys out here on the track might be kind of stuck out to dry now, not pitting with the main pack. But it's King Saturn who takes the provisional lead at the moment, working with Siraxu, who is a lap, well, not currently a lap down, and don't believe anymore. Now that the lead pack did pit, but Siraxu and King Saturn both themselves still have to pit. Vinny and Turismo side by side coming to lap 68 of 80. This is the last stretch. Different groups forming with the guys who are not in that main pack, trying to see if they can work together to get back to the main pack. But at this point, really, all they can hope for is a caution at this stage of the race. No pit strategy really left to do. Hoodcat, Turismo, and Schwartz get knocked to the higher line a little bit. They slot back in the line as that really group of 6-7 cars, I believe 6 cars, including the leader, and a couple lap down cars trying to figure out how to work around and what to do next.
2x3 here into turns 1 and 2. Almost seems like the outside line is a lot more together here as they move around to the outside of the leader there, Vinny, and you make the pass very easy there for JSM Turismo in the middle of those 2 lap down cars.
That's a very impressive move out of 1 and 2, as we've seen the trend of the inside line being king. Not this time around as Hoodcat, Turismo, and Schwartz make the move around the outside to give Turismo the lead, and now Hoodcat holding on to the lead lap, and Schwartz probably wanting to get around Turismo by the line at some point to get himself back on the lead lap as well. But Turismo, I'm sure, is probably more than content sitting in between these 2 guys.
Absolutely. Those 3 cars pulled to the outside and were able to have enough run to get around the leader in Vinny Vinegar there on the backstretch last lap. So those 3 definitely hooked up well together as now Vinny gets to the back of Schwartz and we have a 4-car tandem here.
And the 2 cars as well behind, not too far away from this pack, as Vinny Vinegar is in second, looking behind this pack as the rest of the pack, including Lost and I believe it is Diff. Yeah, Diff catch up. We have another pack forming here with Luke Mann, Kart Racing, Retha, and Captain Napkins. These guys are going to work together to see what they can make happen as we catch back up with the lead pack. I Am Lost, the Canadian, sitting in 3rd place with the fastest lap currently. Sitting in a pretty good spot to win this race, potentially. As we will catch on to this other pack as well, including myself, KTB Killer, King Saturn, and Siraxu. All these different, there's 2 groups of 4 hoping to make an impression on that main group of 6. But that's going to be a hard impression to make on these guys as we run lap 72. With only 8 to go.
JSM Turismo's perfectly content to sit there in the middle of those 2 lap cars, but I Am Lost tries to make a move to the outside. Nobody goes with him.
It does not look like it's going to work out for him. He's going to slot back right where he was into turns 3 and 4. He had the momentum to do it, he thought at least, but just not enough momentum to carry all the way around.
Definitely needed at least one person to try and make that move with him again to the outside.
I think he's possibly hoping Diff would rise up with him, but it's not happening.
DNF sitting in fourth, probably content with waiting a few more laps before making a move here as we are on lap 73 of 80.
Definitely coming down to the wires. It's going to be a lot more contentious for these few positions people can fight for currently. But one caution could bring everything crashing down and change the whole landscape of this race. As we will wait and see if someone's risky enough to make a move that will bring out the yellow flag. As we have Luke Mann, Cart, Retha, and Captain Napkins working together on the back straight. And we have this main pack coming into the tri-oval with 6 to go.
Vinny out of line there for a second, almost gets pushed up and around to the outside. That could have been very bad for his race.
Checking with his other pack, including the number 5 and number 6 place cars. Captain Atkins and Luke Mann with Retha and Cart 2 laps down, sandwiched in between them as we head to lap 75. Checking on this other pack with Saturn 81 as well as a few others. KTV Killer and Saraxu, the other 2 in that pack. The main pack led by Hoodcat, trying to fend off being a lap down. Turismo in the lead with Schwartz in second. The Schwartz in 10th, apologies. A lap down working with this pack though. It's Vinny Vinegar who is in second with Lost in third. Rounding turn 4 of the tri-oval.
JSM looking like he's in a great position at this time, especially with those lap cars surrounding him. Seemingly a group maneuver will be needed, at least in my opinion, to make a pass on those cars, seeing that those lap cars might have no reason to abandon JSM at this point.
As we got some moves going on with this backpack over here with Cart, Retha, Captain, and Luke Mann.
Kind of the same thing with this pack is Captain sitting pretty with those 2 lap cars sitting right behind him, making it hard to lose that 6th position to Luke Mann. For him to get that 5th position, he would have to pass 3 cars at the current moment.
Sitting here, lap 76. Very small amount of time in this race to go. This main pack working together, about to hit lap 77. As we got some fighting back here now, Captain slips back. Retha and Cart with a little bit of a bump. Keep it together for now.
As I was just saying, Captain making a move around Retha to... Oh no, it was Luke Mann made his move all the way around to the outside and got in front of Captain.
A few very interesting packs of racing to keep our eyes on as we head now back to the lead main pack featuring the leaders Turismo, Vinny Vinegar, and I Am Lost here on lap 77. And as they keep it together, someone had to hit pit road in order to make it to the end of the race on fuel.
I Am Lost once again trying to make that move to the outside. Once again, no one going with him.
Someone's going to have to make the move in this pack at some point, though, as we round the tri-oval. One of the last few times we will, as we are 2 to go here at Daytona. Lost looking at the outside yet again on Vinny. Yet again not getting any help for right now. Though possibly kicking that fuel in as he's going to make the overtake around the outside regardless. Very impressive move for Lost as he's going to hope to even get the run past Turismo and into the lead for I Am Lost.
That is definitely some impressive fuel saving and strategy there to have that fuel to move up around into the first position.
But now Vinny
does it as well.
Yeah, he takes a page out of Lost's book into turns 3 and 4, gets the 2-for-1 special on him and JSM Turismo. Hoodcat still...
Perhaps Lost showing his cards a little bit too early there.
But now he's going to go back for himself again, is going to make it happen as we go white flag racing. The 3 leaders side by side with some lap traffic in between. Anything can happen here on this last lap between Vinny Vinegar, Turismo, and I Am Lost.
Battle really shaping out as the lead cars 1, 2, 3 are all right next to each other in line here with lap cars surrounding. Coming down the backstretch, it looks like JSM Turismo is making the move here. Diffsnicker definitely trying to get around I Am Lost as well, now pushing him to the line here.
These two are going to work
3
together.
And 4.
That's right, as we round 3 and 4 to determine our winner here. Vinny Vinegar still hanging on to the lead. Turismo in behind. Lost looking for the run on the outside. He is not going to get it. But Diff gets a push and run around Turismo. Trying to get to Vinny Vinegar. It's not going to happen. Vinny Vinegar takes the win. Diff steals second at the very end with that massive push from Lost. Turismo has to hang in for third. Lost in fourth. As we check on this next pack, Captain fell out of line somewhere. Meta had to take fuel or something, but Lookman takes fifth. Yeah, Captain ran out of fuel. Actually, Captain ran out of fuel. So anyone's going to pass for sixth. And we'll take sixth with KTB behind. Will Captain Napkins make it to the line? King Saturn in eighth. Now going to pass. He's going to help Captain with a bit of a bump himself. What great teamwork between those two. He's going to shunt him into pit road. And the auto drive for Grant Turismo is going to kick in, and Captain is going to get across the line in 7th place, thanks to King Saturn. King Saturn crosses in 8th. Hoodcat out of fuel himself, crawling to the line in 9th place.
I will have to say that is the first time I've ever seen that type of strategy come into play here at Daytona.
I don't think I've ever seen that before either, personally.
Great racing here today with the Elite Series at Daytona. What a race. What a last 2 laps there with the fuel saving and strategy.
Insane finish to that race. Congratulations to Vinny Vinegar for holding on after his very impressive, call it lucky pit strategy at the very start. Ended up, everything got brought back together, but he still hung on regardless, and it paid off for the win.
Yes, very impressive there at the end of that race.
So that'll bring to the end of this race here at Daytona, our presentation on the PRA Network. Thank you, John, for joining me in the booth today.
It was my pleasure. I would love to come back sometime.
Of course. And be sure to check out our races starting on Tuesday. Hopefully we will be live next week. Tuesday for the Sportsman Series, Wednesday for the Challenger Series, and Thursday yet again here on the Elite Series. Next week we'll be heading to the Sardinia Road Course. Definitely not an oval. Different type of racing. We'll see how these guys adjust to it. But until then, thank you for joining me and John in the booth tonight. Have a good one.